Hey, Ron here, recording from the recording room because the stair room is occupado. So today I want to talk about how the coronavirus both proves the need for and the effectiveness of a general strike. I think it's helpful if everybody's basically on the same page, so let's talk about what a strike is. Because it's really simple. When you're employed, you have an agreement that you're exchanging your labor for some kind of currency, for some kind of value. When you go on strike, you stop providing your labor, and therefore the businesses can no longer extract capital from your labor because you're not doing it. In a modern context, strikes have been used to mostly improve wages for people, which there are people that whine and moan about it, but on the other hand, you have 3 people in the United States who own literally half of the wealth in the country, so I think that complaining about getting paid almost nothing is always legitimate. But in a historical context, striking has been used to improve working conditions in places like factories and mines. Those are victories that were very well earned and very hard fought. Mining and factory work were some of the most dangerous, are still to this day, some of the most dangerous occupations in the world. But not in the US, because unions got together and cracked down on shitty practices. Something that I'm hoping happens in the rest of the world, because, I watched a documentary about gold mining in the Amazon the other day, and it was bad. People exposing themselves to raw mercury and fucking... Did you know that gold bugs are one of the reasons that the Amazon rainforest is burning down? And that there are a lot of politicians who have a lot of money tied in with tearing down the Amazon to get all the gold that's in the Amazon? It is fucking absurd. Not the point. There are, related to that, though, a little bit, there were factory workers in a General Electric plant, I'm to understand, who went on strike and demanded that their factory be retrofitted, be converted into a manufacturing factory for ventilators that hospitals need because of the coronavirus. So, it's not... Going on strike isn't just a thing you do for one reason. It's a multi-purpose tool. You're basically throwing a wrench in the system until certain demands you have are met. It's not like just a bunch of teachers who are also gangsters demanding higher wages from the poor put upon fucking school board. And minor tangent about that. People complain about teachers' unions a lot, but fucking... The United States has some of the worst schools in the world. And I'm not saying that in general there are some of the worst schools in the world. I'm saying that there are some schools in the United States that are the worst schools in the world. And I think that the people who would know that best are the people who work there every day. And in my experience, people never... You cannot convince a large group of people to stop going to work, to endanger their jobs for a small reason. So, now that we understand what a strike is and how it can be used, what is a general strike? A general strike is that, but bigger. It's people who work for multiple corporations, who work in multiple parts of the country or multiple parts of the world, and who come from different walks of life, getting together and going on strike. Now, the thing about the general strike is that it's effective in a different way. You can use a general strike, hypothetically. You can use a general strike to influence government policy, which is what the Earth Strike was trying to do back in 2019 and is still trying to do now. Full disclosure, I was part of the Earth Strike movement. I was, and maybe still am, an admin on their Discord server. And there's at least one video that I have that I made for Earthstrike. Allergies are really getting to me. So, yeah. But a general strike is something that it's much more difficult to arrange, but hypothetically, it would be much more effective. Effective enough to buckle the knees of states and entire industries, rather than just one corporation at a time, or one organization at a time. The problem is that I don't know that that has been effectively done in practice. Again, I was part of the Earthstrike movement, and like, I hate to say it, but that didn't work. Not because we didn't work hard enough, but because there weren't enough people. The thing about a general strike is you need a lot of people. You need a meaningful percentage of the population. And in something like the US, that would be between 2 and 5%. But 2 and 5% of 300 million people is still like 15 million people. So you would need 15 million people to agree to not go to work, either for one day or for a prolonged period of time, in order to make that point, in order to do that thing. So the question is, at least regarding a general strike, how do you do that? How do you prevent between 2 and 5% of the population, between 6 and 15 million people, from going to work every day? Hit them with a plague. The effect of the coronavirus is functionally identical. At least, let me rephrase that. The effect that the coronavirus has had on the economy is functionally identical to the effect that a general strike would have on the economy. Well, I mean, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. The effect of the coronavirus has been significantly greater because, like, as much as 20% of the population is being told not to go to work and to do social distancing. And when the economy finally realized, oh shit, people aren't going to be going to work, the Dow dropped 3,000 points in 2 days. A 1,000 point drop is unprecedented in modern times, or at least before Trump took office. A 2,000 point drop is doubly unprecedented in modern times. If a 2,000 point drop happened under Obama, people would be calling for him to be impeached. So we know that just people not being able to go to work, or alternatively choosing not to go to work, would effectively cripple the economy, would effectively nearly destroy the economy. Just the threat of that. Not even the actual follow-through. But we also know that it has to be for a prolonged period of time, and that it has to be a near certainty. So, yeah, a general strike would work. But, do we need a general strike? I think so. And I say that for a specific reason. You remember, I mentioned earlier that workers at a plant were going on strike in order to demand that their facility be converted into to demand that their factory be converted into a facility to make ventilators for hospitals. And that's because none are being made, and none are being made fast enough. World leaders aren't taking the threat of the coronavirus seriously, at least in part because they consider the economy to be more important than the people that they are supposed to be governing. And, I mean, there's an easy way to explain that. In the US, at least, individual donors contribute more to political campaigns by a wide margin than even every person put together. And than every other person put together. They use black money and shit to do that. So it is just overall more effective to influence people by taking money from large money groups or large money individuals than it is to take money from regular working schlubs. It's more efficient to appeal to the rich than it is to appeal to the working people. But, and that's why the response has been so sluggish. Trump wanted to reassure business interests, basically, is why he fumbled the whole thing. In states where people understand how important... The states that understand how important it is to keep people safe are the states where people went out and campaigned. Like, I've seen J.B. Pritzker. Okay, Illinois has been handling the coronavirus about as best as it can. Even in midst of fuck-ups, like, they sent the wrong kind of fucking masks to the state. The wrong kind of protective masks to the state. And Pritzker has been trying to implement policies that will halt the spread of the coronavirus, and the people who work in hospitals here in Illinois have been working heroically to try to curtail the spread of the virus. And what you find is that someone like J.B. Pritzker is someone who went out and talked to as many people as he's trying. I can't really say for sure that he is, but he's at least trying to be the governor of the people, let's say. And Cuomo's trying to do the same thing over in New York. And the places where they're working as hard as they can to curtail the spread of the coronavirus, up to and including making stay-at-home orders in their states, those are candidates, those are people who understand how important and how effective local organizing can be, how important it is to them, to their campaigns, that people be active and be able to do things. And in the places where that's not taking place, they're people who took a lot of money from individual donors and have quote-unquote responsibilities to those large individual donors. So what we're literally seeing is that the American people are being sold out. Like, I want to underscore that. What we are literally seeing is that the American people are being sold out. And it's costing lives. I mean, as of now, things are starting to become rectified, but we don't know yet. The hopeful prospects are that only 100,000 people die, and fuck, we lost 110,000 people during the First World War. That's multiple national... We lost 3,000 people in 9/11, 5,000 people if you factor in people who died afterwards due to the effects of breathing in concrete, or because they couldn't recover from having most of their bodies crushed by rubble. So the coronavirus is like 9/11 times 20. It isn't. You can't even compare. You can only compare that amount of death to warfare. And our government, the Trump administration, just let that happen. Because appealing to business interests was more important to him than taking care of the people who he'd sworn to protect. But we can remedy that, you see. So if the coronavirus, if we know now that not working, getting together in numbers and agreeing not to go to work would shoot the legs out from under the economy, then we can do that on purpose. There are organizations that are working right now to arrange a general strike and a rent strike as I am talking right now, April the 1st. I'm going to link at least one of them, the General Strike 2020 website, in the description of this video. Maybe go by and see it. And I think that's what we're down to. We've tried for decades, since maybe Reagan. We've tried pleading and bargaining and begging officials in the federal government and in various state governments to improve our lives, and they have steadfastly refused. I think it's time we stop asking and start demanding. I think it's time we stop supporting an economy that only works for the few and explicitly works at the expense of most people. Now, I know that there are some people watching this. For example, some people who are more hostile members of my family were looking at me and saying, "Yeah, Ron, you don't have a fucking job. What are you talking about?" One, not true. Two, there are probably other people too saying, "Well, I don't have a job. How can I help?" And I'm glad you asked. The biggest thing you can do is just support people going on strike. And that's not just in the sense of a general strike, that's in any kind of strike. One of the things... Well, let me give you an example. There was a Burger King over on Jefferson Street a few years back that the people who worked there went on strike because their working environment, they got together and they decided that their working environment was too dangerous. So they just didn't go to work, but they didn't get any support in doing that. And so the Burger King just fired all of them and hired new people. In a modern context, having support, large-scale support for a strike is vital to the success of that strike. And that's because, you have corporations will leverage the inconvenience of the strike rather than, the actual lives of the people who may be at risk by going back to work. So, you don't need to be part of a strike to participate in a strike. You can just go down and support those people, help them picket, make lunches for them. When the cops show up, you could confound them with legalese if you're especially intelligent. And I've seen people do that. That works, I swear. And you can also advocate on behalf of the strike. Not just, and I don't mean advocate on a national level. You can advocate to people you know. Again, going to the rent strike, it's really easy. You say, how can people pay their rent if they don't have any money? If they haven't been able to work for a month at a time, for 2 months at a time? Yeah, people have gotten a $1,200 check, but in most places in this country, that's not going to cover rent. That wouldn't cover the bills either in most places. And, it's not supposed to either, but that's not the point. The point of the stimulus thing. You're supposed to spend it on frivolous bullshit, is what it is. support doesn't come from... Okay, let me rephrase that. On-the-ground support, which is the most vital kind of support, doesn't come from advocating on a national level. It comes from advocating on a local level. It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what fucking Texas or Florida or New York or Maine or fucking Washington think about people going on strike if all the people in the town where they're going on strike have the backs of the people who are going on strike. And maybe all the people in the surrounding county have the backs of the people who are going on strike too. That's the most important aspect, is being supported on the ground. On a national level, things are always going to get fucky. Things are going to get ignored. Things are going to get lost in bullshit news. I keep bringing this up because it's the most pertinent example I can think of. There was a 10,000 person union march calling for Governor Rauner to be either removed from office or to remove himself from office back in 2016 or 2017. And it got a 30-second blurb on the national news. Fucking absurd. 10,000 people. As long as the support is on the ground, then the thing can keep going. Support on the ground is how you resist pressure from the outside. So if you see workers striking, if you see workers talking about how terrible the conditions where they work are, support those people. And I'm not just talking about the general strike. Whenever you see that, I regret not going down and supporting the people who were striking at that Burger King. I didn't. I think I was actually taking care of my grandmother at the time, but that not here nor there. Neither here nor there. The support of the community is vital. And if you're talking about a general strike, that means that the support of the community is the support of everyone. But it's always local. You resist outside influences by supporting an organization locally. And, I mean, just supporting your community in general is praxis. Supporting your community is always praxis. So yeah, I think that's everything I have to say about that. I'm all said out. In lieu of my usual calls to action, I'm going to ask you to do two things. One, I have the website for the General Strike 2020 in the description. Go visit that, see how you can help out. And two, if you found this video to be entertaining or informative enough that you feel like financially supporting it, instead of financially supporting me, I would like you to send some money to my friend Sam, who runs the YouTube channel Woohooligan Comedy. He has recently had some insurance shenanigans happen to him, and he needs some money to cover medical expenses. I'm going to link, in lieu of my Ko-Fi, a link to his GoFundMe trying to get money. I'm to understand that as of me talking about this, that's been filled up completely, but this could be a sustained thing. When we're talking about insurance companies especially, there's no way to tell when that trouble is going to end, because insurance companies hate paying people. So any money that you could give to my friend Sam would be very much appreciated, and would be very helpful to him. He needs money for insulin and for other medications, and his insurance company refused to pay for it, which, it's almost like they value capital more than they value people's lives. Next video. My next scripted video is going to be about local voting. That's fully scripted. I'm going to record that as soon as I can. But my next ranty video is going to be about mental health and pathologizing completely normal behaviors. So look forward to that, maybe. And until we get there, take care of yourselves, alright?